Hi there. So, probably one of the main reasons why people decide to take a big step like exploring 80-10-10, the fruitarian lifestyle, shifting over to a diet of predominantly fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, is because everything else has failed for them. Perhaps you're coming from the standard American diet, and that's created health problems for you, weight gain, or maybe you've become a vegan, which, you know, in many cases, I call it the SVD, the standard vegan diet, which mimics the standard American diet, but it's still not necessarily healthy for you. Or you may have explored the SRVD, which is the standard raw vegan diet, and that too can be very high in fat, and again, still mimic the standard American diet. Or you may have tried the endless varieties of the CRD, which is calorie restrictive diet, and everything has failed for you. You may have seen some short-term benefits from these diets, but overall you haven't got the results that you're looking for, and that could be weight loss, it could be wanting to gain more energy in your life, whatever, or you may have illnesses that you want to overcome. Whatever it may be, everything's failed so far. So now you're ready to come. You've been introduced to 80-10-10. You've been introduced to that lifestyle. You've seen others doing it, eating fruits and vegetables, and you've seen what looks like some pretty amazing results. So you're ready for it now because there's nowhere else to turn. The question here now is, do you do this all at once, or do you do it in steps? Or another way of putting it is, do you take a transitional approach, or do you do this radically? Now, I'm going to quote from Doug Graham here from his book, The 80-10-10 Diet. This is page 162. And I like how he puts this. Once people educate themselves about a new positive behavior and become convinced that they desire to incorporate it into their lives, I always encourage them to do so as quickly as possible. Yet you can be easy on yourself when adopting the 80-10-10 way of life. A gradual transition may be the best that you can hope for if you have amassed a collection of mental, emotional, or habitual blocks that would make a sudden and total switchover difficult. So here, Doug Graham is saying, you know, if you can do it all at once, good on you. That's like, let's just get to the point here. But Doug Graham is also very much aware of the fact that people are coming from backgrounds that have to be dealt with. Now, based on my experience and what I've observed in other people trying to switch over to 80-10-10, is that probably the best approach for, I would say, a good number of people, perhaps maybe even most people, is a transitional approach. And in fact, and I've mentioned this in my videos before, if you're coming from years of eating a standard American diet, a diet high in animal products, high in processed foods and fast foods, and on top of that, you've been drinking a fair bit of alcohol, perhaps, and maybe, you know, drinking excess amounts of coffee and all these habits that you've developed over the years, I would strongly recommend taking the transitional approach, and I wouldn't even necessarily jump into doing 80-10-10 right away. I would begin by just becoming a vegan and getting familiar with not eating animal products. And maybe that's your first focus. Later on, you can maybe deal with your alcohol consumption and other habits that you may have developed. But let's begin with one thing at a time so you're not overwhelmed. Because life doesn't stop for you. I mean, you've developed certain habits in your life as coping mechanisms to deal with stresses in your life. Well, those stresses will not go away unless you're able to go away on vacation for a month or so. You still got to deal with life. So let's not put too much on you at once in your circumstance. I would strongly suggest first becoming vegan, and then from there becoming low-fat vegan, and then from there get into the 80-10-10, and that's the low-fat raw vegan lifestyle where you're eating, where most of your calories are coming from fruits, then vegetables, and nuts and seeds. But for some people, the transitional approach is just, they don't have the patience and they can't be bothered with that. They just want to jump right into this new discovered diet, and they'll sort it out once they're in it, and that's fine. It really, either way, whether you do it radically all at once or you do it transitionally, neither one is they're both equally valuable, and it boils down to, at that point, as to what kind of person you are. Some people, when it comes to swimming, for example, some people like to put their feet in the water first and gradually submerge themselves into the water, and other people, they just jump in and that's it, and they deal with whatever they have to deal with once they're in the water. And so you got to decide for yourself what kind of person you are. Now, for young people, I encourage the radical approach, unless there's something in your past that's pretty serious that you need to deal with, because that's what young people are. Young people are radical, and they should be radical, and it's what keeps us old farts awake. It prevents us from settling too much, and it's good. I love to see young people get excited about a cause and take off with it, and challenge the establishment. That's great. But again, for people that have been around for a while, and especially if you're in your middle age or past that, you really gotta, there's other things you may want to have to look at too, like your health, for example. And it's not a bad idea to get a physical and a blood test and find out where you really stand health-wise, because any serious change in your diet you may want to do with the assistance of a dietitian or a coach, somebody that can monitor your progress and make sure that you don't do more damage to yourself. So that's it. Decide for yourself what you think would be right, but both ways, whether it's transitional or whether it's radical, they're both equally valid. And what is your you got to decide, where do you want to go with this diet, and set a goal for that, and then determine the best method, the best way for you to reach that goal. And so that's pretty much all I have to say on converting to 80-10-10. There's the other aspect about weight loss and about awareness that I would like to talk about in another video. So have a great day. God bless, and peace be with you. And if you're Canadian, we have our Thanksgiving this weekend. Have a lovely Thanksgiving with your family or your friends. Take care.